receive this information and to be warned, which means to accept his prophecies. That's being warned, isn't it?
No, not to accept the prophecy. Again, this isn't semantic with me. I mean, just so you know, I'm not trying to argue.
No, I know, but I'm asking you.
Let me tell you exactly what it's for. And I'll just use a quick example. There is information on the website about what Meier was told about the true scope of the BP Gulf disaster and what will come of it. What is coming? Okay. Well, let me back up and give you another one. And
That's a good one. If you plant it, why don't you go ahead, unless you want to start somewhere else?
Well, I do, because this one will be even easier for people, because it's in 1986, I had a friend of mine who was at that time lecturing on the case, had the copy of what's called the prophecies, Talmud Emmanuel and prophecies or something. Meier had put out this information, a lot of it from 1981 up until about, I think, 83, whatever. It was compiled, and I was reading it in 1986, and there were things in there that were, I was laughing about, such as that the United States of America would have 2 civil wars, blah, blah, which hasn't happened. But I'm now at this point not laughing about it anymore. However, there was something in there that caught my eye, especially, and it said that the revolutionaries in Paris will ultimately burn down the city, and that there will be, arson and looting, and all this stuff will happen. This is 1986. Doesn't seem very likely. Then in 1987, Meier again published even more information, which is on the website, and it said that France will fall first from within, and then to a collaboration of internal and external forces. This force from within will be a religious force, specifically Islam. And I thought, wow, this is picking up on what he wrote in 81, and now he's spelling out who it is. But what is this Islam thing? I really didn't get it. And I put that on my DVD. It's called The Meier Contacts, and I put that out in 2004. In October, November of 2005, the first Paris riots took place that you may recall. Thousands of cars were torched. Whole neighborhoods were, trashed. People were killed, et cetera, et cetera. Then, just within about the last 2 weeks, a report on the mainstream news showed that certain, I guess we'd have to say somewhat radical Muslims had literally taken over whole sections of Paris with public prayers in the streets, which it's not, I don't care who it is and do what they're doing. It happens to be specifically against the law in France for any religious demonstration like that. They had hired their own security force, and the police were not allowed in. Nobody was allowed in. And there were people who were surreptitiously filming this. So I put this up on the website saying, we are now watching the fulfillment of a prophecy that I first, read about 24 years ago. It is underway, and the people, the French, about whom this warning, for them initially, this is going to happen in your world here, folks, they are seemingly powerless to do anything about it. And more, if you want to know specifically more, starting back in in that 81 thing they were talking about, Europe is going to be overrun. And Meier spelled it out in the 87 thing. It will be overrun by the warriors and fanatics of Islam. Now, I'm not cheerleading for anything here, and I'm not telling people to believe anything. I really am not. I'm asking them to do very much what I did, because as I say, I've tried to trick this man personally 4 times to see, well, is he making stuff up? How can I ascertain his own truthfulness? When you have a weather report that says the weather at the end of this week is going to be unseasonably hot or unseasonably cold, rainy, snowy, whatever else, if you have trusted, if you have reason to accept that there's a foundation of credibility for the meteorologist, you'll either bring the extra overcoat or carry the umbrella or whatnot. You will be informed by something that has shown itself to be credible. That's the purpose of the prophecies, not to get people into doom and gloom, paralyzed with fear, waiting for the next thing to happen or not, or saying, well, tell us something we don't know.
I want to cut in here for a minute.
Yes,
that
please.
is what prophecies do as a functionality. What does belief mean? You have to accept something to believe it. So belief starts with acceptance. What you're translating is that these things are going to happen. He has been right about all of these things. What I'm saying to you is everything may be, or many things may be, correct and accurate that he's translating and bringing to us as prophecy to warn us. At the same time, I'm still advocating for people to go into the still small voice and be listening to their inner guidance
Yes.
of what they're supposed to do and not to turn their power over to any particular person.
You and I are on the same exact page with that. And what we're talking about is maybe getting to a same spot from seemingly different approaches.
Sure.
Here's the point of it. And this has been the point since this guy has been publishing stuff since the 50s. It should have never have been necessary. They themselves said, for instance, Meier, I'm referring back because this is what I talk about. But
I do want you to go back to the BP Gulf disaster because many of us are still reeling.
You know what? Let me tell you, I'll take it right back with what I was going to say. I'll take it back to that. When I was in Switzerland in May, I said to Billy, because people had written me about a particular thing that he had been told was going to happen, a prediction. That means something that will happen as opposed to a prophecy. By the way, you're right. You see, if these warning posts, if these events keep popping up, then we should say, hey, forewarned is forearmed. What do we do to not let these things come forward? How do we avoid these things? Not sit like deer in the headlight watching one negative thing come down on us after another. Absolutely. That's the point, to get people to wake up and to be listening inside and to talking to each other from a place of reality. Now, the Gulf thing and all. So I'm with him in Switzerland, and I've received inquiries from a number of people about one particular prediction. And they claim there's a real difference. That means an event that will occur, usually some very natural one, very often something passing by from outer space, or an Earth action that is unavoidable and doesn't really have to do with human beings one way or the other. Okay, so I said to him, Billy, I was asked if you would please tell us when the 9.0 earthquake is going to hit off the coast of Oregon. And Billy says, well, Michael, you know I'm not allowed. I said, thank you. You do not need to, complete the sentence. I know that. So you're not allowed to tell about an event that will occur for certainty for various reasons. That's fine with me. But what about this thing in the Gulf? And this was a strange moment for me because Billy, there was something that was almost uncharacteristic. He just kind of turned his head slightly and looked wistful and kind of looked down a little, and he says, from here on, it's going to be one thing after another, bigger, harder things happen. And the Plejaren, they know already that people don't learn from the prophecies and the predictions. So from here on, it's better if you just tell people, encourage them to focus on creating love and harmony and peace and freedom in their lives. I said, I understand what you're saying. And this sounds very simplistic in the context of, oh my goodness, we're talking about somebody who's delivering these earth-shaking prophecies and by golly, if you do look at this record, it's disturbingly accurate. Why is it suddenly you're talking about this touchy-feely love, peace, free? No, because the essence of all of this comes back to the very thing you said and the very thing I answered to the fellow on. We are responsible. Inside ourselves is where everything starts. When we have a thought, it will give rise to a feeling. Feelings don't arise out of nowhere. They come from thoughts. Unless, of course, we're talking about purely physiological, you burn your finger. And it is the actions that we feel impelled to take. Most of this happens unconsciously for most people most of the time. We're not doing what they're saying. What is the teaching? Monitor your thoughts 24 hours a day. Notice what it is that you're thinking and what feeling is coming and what you think you're going to do next. Is that the best thing? This isn't positive thinking. This is called neutral positive thinking. It means you have to know what is. Every moment of your life, you must become aware objectively, neutrally, of what is. And that means first starting with what is going on inside that head and heart of yours.
What's going on is I want to go back to BP Gulf disaster and have you give the detail of what Billy said. I know you talked about, he said The Plearans say that it's going to be one thing after another, so focus on love, harmony, peace, and freedom. But what else did he say?
Right. So what they had told him right around that time